Talk about it with Franjez. Today's special guest is a media personality, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a designer. The list goes on. Today's guest is Kamey Gomez.
Woo!
Cheering for yourself.
Yes,
I like
gotta
that.
give yourself your flowers. Thank you, though,
absolutely.
for that intro.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here.
Yes, of course. I'm excited. We
Thank
got
you.
a Gemini energy out here in the room, so I feel like it's gonna be a good combo.
We're going to get into all of that stuff. Hell yeah. Let's start off with a little wellness check. How you doing today?
I love that question. I'm okay. I'm good.
Perfect. I like it. Positivity. All right, let's start from the beginning. Where were you born?
Harlem, USA, the best place in the entire world. Born and raised on the east side of Harlem. I feel like that's definitely a big part of just who I am, like everything that I've just experienced growing up there, just like my style and just my vibe, like really comes from Harlem and the east side. So shout out to the east.
Nice. So, how were you as a kid? What were you into?
As a kid, I was just super like creative and adventurous, similar to how I am now. I always knew that I loved like all things entertainment and media and just like expressing myself in creative ways. So I remember I wanted to be like a fashion designer, and my mom, she bought me a sewing machine. I taught myself how to sew. Then I wanted to be a hairstylist. She bought me a mannequin. I cut all the hair off. Then I wanted to be a dancer. She put me in dance class. So it's like I wanted to be everything in the book. And sure enough, my mom definitely, believed in me and, kind of gave me an avenue to explore that side of myself. But definitely as a kid, like I was always on my computer, like looking for information, looking for a way out. Creating things on iMovie. I was a DJ once upon a time. I did music videos on my iPhone on iMovie. So it's like, you name it in entertainment and creative spaces, like that's what I wanted to do.
Nice. So, what age was this where you started creating actual content, like videos and all that?
I was really young. I'm going to say like I have pictures of me on the computer literally from when I'm like 6, 7 years old, pictures of me with a microphone in my hand from young, so I would say literally as early as I could remember. But in terms of like, kind of messing around on the computer, probably like 9, 10, and on. But I was always into like Tumblr, MySpace, like editing my pictures. I was always into like, MySpace was like coding before
It was.
coding, So hooking up, my profile, putting my song, like I was just always into, expressing myself, like just through imagery, really. So, yeah.
All right. And then what's high school like?
High school for me was interesting because I went to a predominantly white high school in Chelsea. So yeah, like being born and raised in Harlem, like I had never actually even been around like so many white people at once, and really like coexist like with them. Like my first day going to high school, that was my first day like on that block in Chelsea ever, So initially I struggled a lot because I didn't really feel like I had a place there, But yeah, it was a lot of like weird shit going on. Can I curse?
Absolutely.
Okay. It was a lot of weird shit going on, but literally like every time I would swipe my ID to come into school, there would be like a hall monitor. His name is Mo. Shout out to Mo. And I would always be like, Harlem in the building. And he would be like, Harlem in the building, So it's like he kind of helped, me and my journey, like just embracing my presence, letting my presence be known. And it's like, actually, like I'm not going nowhere, But yeah, high school definitely was like a launching pad for me for like a lot of creative things that I like got into. Probably, I believe it was my freshman year. I ended up going on a spoken word poetry tour called the My Shine Speaking Tour.
This is
And
while you're in high
yeah,
school?
while I'm in high school.
Is this NYC Lab High School for
Yes.
collaborative studies?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I went on a spoken word public speaking tour, and I was basically sharing a poem about my life, a spoken word poem about my life, and encouraging like other young women to identify like what makes them shine. It was kind of like a woman empowerment type of thing, but that is kind of like when I realized, okay, like I really love being on stage. You know, I've always loved performing in some way. So I just started to get my feet wet with spoken word. And then I end up going to share that on BET. They had a digital segment called What's at Stake. And that was my first time, you know, really being on a platform for real. So a lot of things like began to like bubble for me like early on in high school. And I definitely have to give like so much gratitude and thanks to the Future Project. It was a nonprofit organization basically placed in different high schools across the country. They would put a dream director in each school, and you would work with the dream director and other students to create different passion projects and, you know, really like discover like what your dream is for yourself, for your community, for the world. And they really help ignite my fire for real, because like I said, when I was growing up, like I always had the itch and desire to do so many creative things, but I didn't know where to start. Like I didn't have a plug, I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have somebody in my family that either graduated from college or could give me advice or was in the industry, you know? So having, you know, the Future Project in the school, it was like God intentionally placed me there, because when I first got accepted to lab, I was boohoo crying. My mom had to take me to the principal to be like, listen, this is a good school, like you're good, you know?
Tell us about the school.
Well, it was ranked apparently number 3 by the New York Times. So once upon a time, I don't know if it still is now, was a very like academically rigorous school.
Let me run down this list of it says activities and societies: Black Alliance Club, the Future Project, HIV and AIDS Action, LMU, Girls Flag Football, Student Government, and Spanglish.
Yes.
What's Spanglish?
It was like a club that it was like a student body kind of club that was started at lab, and it was for, you know, just the Spanglish community, you know, I guess. So those were kind of just like different organizations like in high school that I was like a part of like throughout my years, but definitely
What's different about this high school and, let's say, a public school? Because it seems very different, but I can't wrap my head around
no,
it.
it's a public school. It's still a public school, but honestly, the difference with lab is really the culture. Like I've worked at Apple, you know, before, and the culture at Apple, if anybody has ever worked at Apple or works at Apple, you know, is like very distinct. The way that they handle customer service and just even interactions amongst people. And I feel like Lab, you know, has a very kind of like special approach when it comes to like education and learning and just like student body, really. So I was able and just super blessed to have a elective around social emotional learning called SEL, and my school had a partnership with Yale University for the Center of Emotional Intelligence, and they were kind of gearing up to do a campaign called the Inspire Red campaign and the Emotion Revolution. And the intention of that was kind of just to see like how kids are feeling emotionally while they're in the classroom and like how that translates into, you know, academia. And so lab was just so good at like providing that like space for students to kind of explore what emotional intelligence looks like. Like we weren't just learning regular academics, you know, we were checking in with ourselves, doing that wellness check and really being able to, you know, identify how it is we were feeling. So that's what I think makes lab a very special place. And once upon a time, like I said, like I wanted to transfer so bad. I was boohoo crying when I first got in, but God literally, placed me in that school so I could have experiences like the Future Project, like being able to work with, people from Yale University. And that ended up turning into them sending me to San Francisco and at Facebook's headquarters. Yes.
Why did they send you to San Francisco?
So I was a part of the social emotional learning elective that was taught by my principal, actually, Brooke Jackson. And I didn't know who these people were, just sitting in the classroom listening on, but I guess they saw how I was engaging in the class and they were like, we want a student like representative from this school, to come out and basically kind of troubleshoot, some ideas that we have around the campaign. So what's so crazy is I actually end up getting suspended like right before I got this opportunity.
No.
I got suspended right before, but my principal still wanted me to be the representative for the school because she's a real one. It hurt her to suspend me,
Yeah.
It hurt her, but she still sent me to Cali, and that was my first time in Cali. That was a dream come true for me.
Why were you going to get suspended?
I was basically gonna fight this girl, and she ended up like printing out like screenshots, and it was saying I was threatening her, and yeah. But honestly,
so you never even hit her?
No.
It was like it was a possibility of you guys fighting. That's why.
Honestly, it was a weird situation. Like her and her man and like one of her friends was like kind of playing on my phone. Like it was very weird. Like they was just playing on my phone, playing blocked or whatever. And I guess like I was just on my Gemini shit and I got tight. And I'm like, when I see you, I'ma fuck you up. I said, don't worry. I'ma see you, bitch.
And then suspended just for that.
Yes.
Didn't even fight.
That's fight. Horrible. And yo, what's crazy is they had the security walking me around the school because it was an in-house suspension. They had the school safety escorting me to the bathroom. I'm like, yo, y'all doing way too much. Like, y'all treated me like I'm a criminal for real. I'm like, I did how long is school? My 8-hour bid. And that was my.
It was just one day, and
it was just one day, and
right, not bad.
And that was it. But that shit went on my record,
Wow.
But yeah, anyway.
So you still made it to Cali?
Still made it to Cali.
What part of Cali?
San Francisco.
Nice.
That's Facebook's headquarters.
Okay.
It's literally like Disneyland over there, literally.
All right.
And so that transpired into my freshman year of college. I was at Syracuse University.
Wait, but how'd that transition work? You still graduated from New York City?
Yeah, I graduated from lab.
So what were you doing in San Francisco exactly?
So I was basically it was kind of like a focus. I don't want to say focus group, but really it was a focus group. Like it was a bunch of different students, educators, like just a bunch of different people. And we were kind of just like literally throwing ideas at the wall of like what this campaign could be and what it could look like, and like what are students feeling in the class and what activities could help engage them. And, literally it was just like a brainstorming conference, but it was super dope. And that was my junior year of high school. So fast forward to my senior year, they wanted to kind of reveal the findings, of this like conference of the weekend, whatever that we went. And they wanted to reveal it at Yale University with Lady Gaga and Soledad O'Brien.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they wanted me to be on the panel to speak with Lady Gaga and Soledad about everything that happened, yes, at Facebook. I know. I know.
Wow.
And Lady Gaga, like, she was like one of my all-time inspos. Like, my YouTube name is XO Dolly Monster because like that monster part comes from Gaga. Like, just her uniqueness, her creativity, like her swag. I'm like, yeah.
And what about Dolly? Where'd that come from?
Well, I always loved Nicki Minaj too. But I was like, I'm not a Barbie. I'm not fake. I'm not plastic. I'm a Dolly. So XO Dolly Monster, that was my shit.
Nice. All right, so after San Francisco was college?
After San Francisco, it was Speaking with Lady Gaga and Solo Died, and then it was Syracuse University, and that kind
Where
of
did you go for? What was the major?
communications.
Okay. And what were you trying to get with that major?
Honestly, I never wanted to go to college. I always say, like, I went on accident, but on purpose, because like I said, like, none of my family members like went to college. Like, that just wasn't really a priority for me. I actually thought that I was going to be in the military. And I always knew like I wanted to be like a superstar for real. So I'm like, college don't have no superstar major. And I was telling my guidance counselor that, and she was like, well, they do have communications, and I feel like that would be like the closest thing for you. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna apply. And I was applying every like college I would get accepted to. I'm like, I don't want to go here. Like, I would visit it and be like, this is not for me. So finally I said, Syracuse, like, this is the last shot. If I don't get in, first of all, I'm not going to visit this school. And then if I don't get in, then I'm not going. And then that was the last acceptance that I got. And I went. And it changed, it changed the game for me.
Well, what did it change for you?
Well, my freshman year, probably like a week or so before I actually went back to San Francisco. So the people from Yale and Facebook, they hit me up while I was in college now.
For what?
And they're like, hey, we want you to host an event at Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, we're going to fly you from Syracuse to San Francisco. We're going to, everything, hotel, chauffeur,
Wow.
food, like somebody waiting with my name at the airport. I was like, OMG.
That's amazing.
Like, dream come true, And I hosted at Facebook, and it was lit.
That's incredible.
And then literally when I came back to Syracuse, a couple days later, I had an audition to interview Charlamagne Tha God. Because, an organization at Syracuse was bringing him to campus, and, people was just talking about, who would be a good fit or whatever. And people saw that I was already doing so many things in high school. So as a freshman, they like, who is this girl? So they invited me to audition. And I auditioned against a girl who was a senior, and her major was like actual media communications. Like, my major was communications and rhetorical studies.
Okay.
So it was more like language and persuasion and rhetoric. But yeah, I'm like, she's a senior. Obviously she's been studying media for super long. Like, she's going to get it. And, I end up getting it.
Amazing.
And my first interview ever was with Charlamagne Tha God in front of like 1,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And at this point, do you still have that anxiety on stage, or are you confident and you killed it?
Honestly, I do get anxiety because I care, but also at the same time, I always remind myself, like, they're just people. They're just people. If I mess up, I'm going to correct myself, and y'all know what I meant.
And I'm going to keep it moving.
Yeah, like, it's like we having a conversation right now, like nothing really separates us. So I kind of keep that mentality when I'm on the stage. Like, the stage is the only thing separating us, but we really all just people.
Nice. You mentioned God twice. What religion did you grow up in your childhood?
Yeah, I grew up Catholic, but I was the first in my family to become Christian when I was I'm going to say probably like my freshman or sophomore year of high school. And God is so faithful because like he doesn't start a work and then like not finish it, and like leave you hanging. Like I didn't like build a relationship with God and then it just finished with me, like my mom, she was like fully into like Catholic faith, and she ended up becoming Christian as well. And my sister, she actually wasn't even really into her faith at all. And, she ended up getting saved. Her children are saved and dedicated to the Lord. So I'm just excited to see, how God really saves like the rest of my family.
So what happened at 14, 15, around that age that made you switch over to Christian?
Honestly, I've always just felt like I can't even say like really what it was, but I always like felt like I was like searching for like the truth really, or like just searching for like some type of comfort, some type of answer, some type like just something, really. And yeah, I never really went to like Catholic church like that. And the moment that I did go to a non-denominational Christian church, actually a cop that lived in my building, he invited me and my mom and my sister, and we end up going. And I just felt like a certain connection, like to like the Holy Spirit. I couldn't really identify what it was in that moment, but it just opened something in my heart. And I just kept going to church, kept going by myself, kept going. And my mom at the time, I hope she's okay with me sharing this story. But like my mom at the time, she believed in like, saints and, just like kind of really like just worshiping saints for real. And one day I came home from church and I'm like, Ma, like, that gotta go, like, everybody obviously got their own beliefs, but I'm like, Ma, like, that gotta go. Like, God is a jealous God. He's the one and like almighty God. And, you put your faith in him, like he's going to answer your prayers.
You say he's jealous?
Yeah.
He's not jealous.
God is a jealous God. I believe. And when I say that, I mean that I think God.
Jealous is a negative thing.
But I would say jealous in the sense of like, I don't believe that God is content with having like other idols of your heart. So when you put other things before God, or when you make things your God, I feel he feels jealous in a way, of like, no, like you're my child. I want you to lean on me. I want you to put your faith in me. I want to have that relationship with you. I want you to know that I could fulfill all of your needs. So that's what I mean when I say jealous.
I see what you're saying.
That's kind of
He
the
wants
message.
you to see clearer.
Right.
That's how I would put it. He wants you to see clearer. You're worshiping the wrong things.
Right. And like I'm a believer that our faith should solely be reliant, on God, and nothing really that is man-made or, so that was kind of the message really that I feel like God sent for me to deliver to my mom. And me and my mom in 2018, like we both got baptized, and like it was beautiful, and yeah, like I'm just, like I said, I'm looking forward to see the other works that he do in the rest of my loved ones' lives, because I know that once he starts, like he's not just going to be like, all right, peace out, So.
Absolutely. All right, let's get back on track.
And can we get an amen from the congregation? Amen.
So, Charlamagne Tha God is where we left off. That interview went well?
Yes, I was so nervous because this was like Charlamagne when he was like wild Charlamagne, like when he was on the Breakfast Club walling people up and like really like, checking them and asking like crazy questions. Like people was like, yo, like, be careful with Charlamagne, like know how you coming, like be prepared. And I'm like, OMG, this is my first interview Like, what? And then it's with like a legend of interviews, you know? And literally right after, he was like, you should work at a radio station.
Damn.
And I was like, if I could even get a tour of a radio station, like, I would be grateful, you know? And he was like, no, like, seriously, like, you should work at a radio station, like, you know, take my number. And so, you know, we end up getting connected from then, and like, he's been my mentor and just a person, you know, in my life ever since.
That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Charlamagne, you know, got to give him his flowers, because he's definitely empowered me in so many ways. You know, I've worked on both of his talk shows. I've worked at the Breakfast Club, and just being able to witness him have a talk show and do what it is ultimately, you know, that I like love and aspire to do. Like, that right there is rewarding in itself. So, you know, I got a lot of gratitude and appreciation for him.
Absolutely. So what comes next? Graduation?
Yes. Well, I mean, I had a couple of different experiences through college that definitely like were transformative. You know, I've had a lot of internships, studied abroad.
Was the volunteer work, the Send Relief, that was during college?
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into that one.
Yeah, that was my sophomore year of college. And I basically went to Puerto Rico with a couple of students from Syracuse. We did disaster relief for Hurricanes Irma and Maria. And we spent a couple of days out in Puerto Rico. And that was my first time even being in Puerto Rico as a full Boricua. So it was like super touching for me, you know. And at first I always thought I was just like bougie, and I'm like, I don't want no mud, no bugs on me, you know, like I'm like, like, where's the AC? But that experience changed my life, because just giving people fresh water, giving them food, clothes, cleaning their homes, disinfecting their homes, like just like talking to them. And it's around Christmas time, you know, like that right there, seeing their reactions and just how appreciative they were, like that just did something for me. You know, it was a feeling that I can't really describe. Like, nothing amounts to giving, not really getting anything in return, but knowing that you're making a difference. So the following year, I was like, you know, I need to do this again. And I ended up having the Gomez toy drive. I did it with my colleague at the time, Eddie Gomez. Shout out to him. That's why we called it the Gomez toy drive. Everybody was like, why are y'all calling it Gomez? And it's like his last name is Gomez and mine is too. So we were like, yo, fuck it, Gomez.
Yeah.
You know? So we did it. It was a great turnout. And the following years, I just, you know, continued it by myself with a couple of other volunteers from social media. We were raising money through Cash App, just promoting on social media. And I would just organize, you know, different community drives, whether it's holiday initiatives or back to school drives. You know, I would really just, from the ground up, you know, run and gun, like donate $1 on Cash App, go buy the toys, you know, like literally buy the decorations. What's the theme? Okay, guerrilla marketing. Let's go hand out flyers, get families and people to come. Or what school are we partnering with? Who I got to speak to? What's the permits? What's the details? So from there, that's where the Kamey Gomez Foundation kind of came about. So it really just started in Puerto Rico.
You just switched it to your name instead of just
every drive is still the Gomez.
Oh.
So I just continued it.
Still makes sense for you too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just kept it like that. So I'm like the Gomez Toy Drive 1, the Gomez Toy Drive 2, the Gomez Backpack Drive, the Gomez Comeback Drive, the Gomez Roblox Wonderland. That was the last one that I did. So kind of just stuck with it because
yeah, it works.
Yeah, and everything, you know, that I have going on is kind of branded around, like, you know, me and my brand and Kamey Gomez and KG and Gomez, you know. So it's like, fuck it.
I like it. So what comes next? What year are we up to?
I'm not even sure. But
I have 2017 as the relief time.
Yeah, but I started I started community service and giving back in 2017, and I've been doing it ever since. So definitely looking to have another drive sometime this year as well. The last drive that I did catered to a school in the Bronx. We did the Gomez Roblox Wonderland. So we did a whole party for the kids. We had the Grinch. We had toys. We had food. We had a DJ. We had face painting. Like, we had everything, you know. Then we actually had enough funds left over that I fundraised, that I was able to take more of the toys, and with my sister gave those out to a shelter in the Bronx, and you know, people who were just getting displaced and transitioning from place to place, and that was super dope as well. So it was kind of like a part two, you know, like a give back part two, like actually being out in the street and like interacting with families going into the shelter that weren't expecting to get blessed on a random Saturday, you know? And then also the kids in school who may not like have a high quality home life, you know, where they're getting toys or getting things that they like for Christmas or experiencing that childlike joy, you know? So I think it's definitely beyond material things and more kind of just about like the intention and energy that you're putting into something, and like how that could cause a ripple effect and really create an impact in somebody's life. Like, you never know.
100%. Absolutely. What's the 135 agency?
That's a PR agency that I work with. I do freelance work with them, but yeah, basically do a bunch of like red carpet screenings and premieres and press junkets and press runs. So constantly working with like super high level talent, really just making sure they have a seamless experience. And like, I'm just an executor, you know? So it's like, I'll create a run of show, and that's exactly how it's gonna go on the day of, you know? And even with just like hiccups and stuff that happen naturally, it's like you got to be able to think on the fly and problem solve and really just see a production from start to finish. So I'm really grateful, you know, for the opportunity. Shout out to my sis, Shatina, for definitely, you know, putting me on. But grateful for those opportunities, because I've met so many people just along the way, and it's like, you know, I've always dreamt of being on a red carpet, and now I literally work red carpets. I just worked one 2 days ago.
Oh,
what's today? Tuesday?
Today is Wednesday.
Oh yeah, 2 days ago. So yeah, that was super dope.
Nice. Nice. Is that where you've had those interviews with like Jim Jones, Styles P, Dapper Dan? I seen like these clips of interviews.
No, that's actually me just like meeting these people. You feel me?
Where? It looks like events you're at, no?
Yeah,
Like
whatever events I go to that talent is gonna be there, I'm interviewing, you know? So
that's amazing.
Yeah, Jim Jones, I met him at the Apollo at the Young and Lit Music Fest. I was backstage interviewing, you know, everybody that was performing and that was just back there. And Dapper Dan, I met him in Amy Roof's, actually.
Nice.
I was having lunch in Harlem. He pulled up. And it's like, I just feel like real ones recognize real ones. Like, anytime I meet somebody, it's always like a mutual, like, what's up? You know, like, it always just happens like that. Like, it's very odd. But yeah, like, it's always just like a cool, like, you know, connection to where it's like, oh, hey, like, you know, can I ask you a couple of questions? Like, I have a platform, this, and that. So that's kind of how those things happen.
Nice. Just the right time, right place.
Literally, and being prepared at any moment. Like, staying ready so you don't got to get ready.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. What's boohooman.com?
Boohoo Man is a UK brand. I don't know if you've heard of just like Boohoo, but yeah, they're like a clothing brand. They similar to like Pretty Little Thing, whatever. But I've been able to work on their Black Friday campaign, creating some content for them. Their Black Friday campaign was called Get the Bag. So I was outside with them creating some content, giving some ideas, and then they end up giving a give back as well. So I feel like something about me is like just putting the dots together, like helping identify what influencers, who is really like popping in the city, who's moving and shaking things, whose brands align with the mission of, what the campaign is. So really just being there, like ear to the streets, and also just being a tastemaker in the sense of like, okay, this is what looks good. This content is the idea that is going to go viral. This is what's going to get engagement. So kind of just like really having good taste, and lending that over to brands.
I see the networking is heavy.
Yeah.
What's the where are we now in the timeline? Are we still in college while you're doing all this networking?
No.
I want to talk about what happens after college.
Yeah, I ended up graduating in 2019. I actually graduated early from Syracuse, and obviously COVID happened right after that. I was working at Apple as a technical expert. That was actually the longest job that I've had. And honestly, not that it was so random, because a girl from my high school actually like recommended me to work there. She was like, hey, like, I think you would really enjoy working at Apple. Like, I think you should apply this and that. And me and her wasn't even that cool. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. And she ended up like referring me, and I got the job. I eventually ended up like moving up. I was working in Syracuse, and I moved to the city, and I was a technical expert. So I was really getting busy behind the Genius Bar, fixing phones, battery screens, everything. And yeah, that was cool. That was cool until it wasn't. But yeah, I've had so many jobs since then. Like, I'm really the definition of a hustler. Like, you name it, I've done it. Like, it may look like, oh, it comes super easy to her, or, she got accomplishments flying left and right, and it's like, nah, I really grind for every single thing I have. Any experience, any person I've met, like, it's been a fight. You feel me? So, yeah. Never luck. Hate, just wait your turn.
I like that. It's not luck. It's you being prepared for the moment.
Exactly. And I definitely think just like my faith plays a big role in it as well, because these are all the things I pray for as a child, all the things I surrender to God. So faith without works is dead. You have enough faith, you put in the work, guaranteed to see something come from it.
I like that. Absolutely. Faith without works is dead. I like that. I never heard it like that. Polymath Network. How'd you meet them?
I met Angelo actually at the Angie Martinez barbecue last summer, and I was doing interviews backstage, and my mic stopped working, and Angelo had a spare mic, and my cameraman just ran down on him. He lent us the mic, and from there, like, we end up just establishing a rapport. But shout out to the Polymath Network for just inviting me to host their first live event. It just happened at the Yonkers Brewery, so that was dope. We had a good time. It was a bunch of other podcasts there too, and yeah, it was lit.
Nice. I like that. Who's the first person you think of when you think of success?
Honestly, myself. Yeah, like I honestly, like, I'm inspired by other people's success and the trajectories of people's careers, but I also just feel like everybody has such a unique journey, and success looks different to so many people. So it's like, I just want to be more successful than I was. Like, I just want the success that feels like okay and good for me. So I think of myself when I think of success.
Nice. Tell us about Costa Rica.
Oh, Costa Rica was fun. I went there for my 23rd birthday, I think it was, or 24. No, my 23rd birthday. And that was cool. Did a lot of adventurous stuff.
Like what?
Went jet skiing. I was on a boat. I went, what is it called? when you like going across the thing, zip lining upside down
over the jungle.
Yes, but I was upside down. It was crazy. I saw monkeys. I was by crocodiles. I went on this like safari thing. I was feeding giraffes. Like, it was crazy. I really was like one with nature in Costa Rica. But I love to travel, and I love just a good adventure. So if you ever travel with me, we're doing activities, you know, like we are.
That's the way to do it.
Not
just lay on the beach.
No, definitely not. And not waking up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, no. Yeah. But definitely love to travel, for sure. I feel like I find myself more the more that I travel.
Nice. So what's next? What's next for you? What's coming up?
What's next for me? Honestly, a lot of one-on-one sit-down interviews with very special guests. And I've interviewed, you know, so many different people on so many different platforms, but now I'm excited for my own platform, you know, and to kind of tap into some of the network that I have that I never necessarily got a chance to sit down and speak with because I didn't like officially have a sit down platform. So I'm looking forward to that because there's definitely some juicy people, you know, with like some good stories that I want to share. And more all-stars, you know, more with my clothing brand. Definitely different variations of my clothing brand. I'm excited. Another drive this year for sure for the community. And really just amplifying everything that I already have going on. So, yeah, I would definitely say just be on the lookout. Follow Kamey Gomez, All Stars by KG, Gomez Gourmet, Kamey Gomez Foundation, and stay in tune.
I like that. I was going to ask you for the outro. You just ripped the whole outro. Perfect. Any last advice or any last words you want to leave the people with?
Definitely want to say, always put God first. Stay humble, stay hungry. Always keep moving forward. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the conversation.
Thank you for having me. What was that? I was chatting. I hope I didn't.
No, it was perfect.
Okay, great.
And thank you to everybody that watched. Peace and love.
Later.